Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm back again for the next deck tech of this week, and today's one has been completely inspired by one of the people who I play regularly against on the stream. Goes by the username on Twitch as Tondel, and this is a card he played against me a while back. And I, to be honest, didn't even know this was on MTGO, and I saw it, loved it, decided I needed to build my own version of it. So, what is the card I'm talking about? Well, it's this card today. Kosei, Penitent Warlord, 1 and 2 green for a 0/5, who has one of the most interesting abilities I've seen for a while. As long as Kosei is enchanted, equipped, and has a counter on it, he comes into play. Whenever he deals combat damage to an opponent, you draw that many cards equal to that much damage, basically, to each. And so let me rephrase that. You draw that many cards dealt to that opponent, and then it deals that much damage to each other opponent. So if you get in for 1, you're going to draw a card from the opponent you hit, and you're going to do everyone else 1. Put those numbers up, and it gets really big really quickly, and I just thought this was fantastic. I hadn't seen it before. I hadn't realised the set it had come in, which had been the Neon Dynasty Commander sets, and I just didn't know it was here. And I saw it, I got it played against it. I did lose the game, not to this, but to something else. But this deck just really blew my mind away. So I decided, right, I didn't do a Tondel video for Christmas, but I figured now's the time because Tondel's been around with me for a while. So this is my take on his deck, which I really hope he appreciates. So anyway, the deck itself looks like this. It is your basic mono green deck with some equipment in it and some ways of chucking around some +1/+1 counters and some auras in it, of all things. So, just as usual, just to start with the lands, we've got quite a few green lands, quite a few forests, as you can see. I've chucked in my copy of Gaze Cradle into this deck just because I have one in MTGO. Don't have one in real life, so you can change this for another forest. I've also chucked in Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, along with all the usual things you'd expect to see, like Reliquary Tower, Temple of the False God. A couple of cards I will point out. To back up Gaze Cradle, I've chucked in Nykthos. And also to make sure that we can get through with Kosei when we've got the counter, the enchantment, and the equipment on them. I've chucked in Rose Passage to make him unblockable for a turn. That's what it's there. We've got a few search lands. All the lands from Streets of New Capenna that search for forests are in here, along with Fabled Passage and Castle Garenbrig from Throne of Eldraine, just so we get the extra mana. I've also chucked in Argoth, Sanctum of Nature, because in the deck as well, in the 3-drop slot, you can see I've got Titania, Voice of Gaia, because I'm still trying to get this to meld in a game, so that's why it's here. The ramp side, a little bit easier than normal today. I went with Jeweled Lotus. What I will say is this version, for those of you who play MTGO, this version on MTGO is the cheapest one. So if you want one for your commander decks when you're playing mono, you might want to go and pick one up. So Jeweled Lotus in, Soul Rings in. As usual, I've also gone with Arcane Signet and Moss Diamond. That's about it for the actual artifact ramp in the deck, because we've got some other ways of doing it. So the other ways also include Birds of Paradise. We've also gone with Generous Visitor because we do play a lot of auras, and we might as well chuck some +1/+1 counters around with this. And to back that up, Hardened Scales is in the deck. You might as well play Hardened Scales if you're playing something where you're relying on counters. I couldn't think of any better counters than +1/+1s for this, so that's why we've gone this way. Also, for the ramp side of things, we've got Honoured Hierarch. Hopefully we can get this renowned quite quickly. And then the first of the enchantments, we've got Keen Sense to draw some cards, Rancor, because I still think this is one of the best green enchantments you can get, and Sixth Sense as well, just to draw the cards as well. First bit of equipment is Basilisk Collar, because Death Touch Lifelink's always good on any creature you can get it onto. I've also chucked in the Elixir of Immortality, just so, this is green deck. We don't really have any big wraths. We don't have any way of wiping the board out. We probably do get the board wiped occasionally. This gives us a way to recycle our graveyard as normal. My usual reasoning for Elixir of Immortality. I've also gone with the Ozolith. I believe Tondel played this against us, but I couldn't be sure. But I've put it in because we do get quite a few +1/+1 counters with this deck, and we might as well try and save them to put on a creature if we get the opportunity to. Going to 2-drops, Alpha Authority, just to give our creatures hexproof and it can't be blocked by more than one creature. Makes Kosei very hard to deal with. I also went with Durable Handicraft. It basically puts the mana cost of all your creatures up by 1 that go in the deck, but if you pay the 1, they do come in with a +1/+1 counter, and that's really good with Kosei, hence why it's here. Gala Greeters is also in. Mainly for the treasure side of things, though, the +1/+1 and the 2 life can be very useful if we need it to be so. Incubation Druid to help with the ramp, and Cameo Transcendience is here as well. There's enough enchantments in here that will probably get removed, and we'll probably get this recycling back to our hand quite rapidly. Next one, Lead by Example. It's a nice cheap way of getting a +1/+1 counter on Kosei and pumping up one of your other creatures. You know, it's great if you can chuck it on Incubation Druid to ramp up the mana really quickly. Ordeal of Nylea's in as well. Put some +1/+1s around and get a couple of lands when this eventually gets sacrificed, and it will get sacrificed, so a little bit upsetting, but that's the way it goes. Runamite to give something trample. I've also got the ability to put this on to one of the equipments, so you can enchant your Basilisk Collar with the Runamite as well, so you can just keep it around, so whenever you equip the Basilisk Collar and in the other enchant equipments, you can make sure that they get that nice bonus and the trample as well. So, it's all good. Dosing Dagger is another bit of equipment I've put in purely because it's fairly easy to do the transformation with this and get the 3 mana land going with Lost Veil, so that's why it's here. Hero's Blade's a no-brainer. Kosei, as we know, is obviously legendary because it's our commander. Playing Kosei with the blade in play gives an automatic equip, so you get the first part of the 3 things you need doing with Kosei done just by playing the 2 together. That's why it's here. Ring of Colonia is something I didn't even know existed until Tondel played it against us, and the +1/+1 counter each turn, yeah, that's 2 parts of Kosei sorted out if you can do that thing. And then Swiftfoot Boots just to protect Kosei a little bit, automatic hexproof and its equipment, so that's quite nice. Enough forests that we're playing Blanchwood Armour. Cartouche's Strength just for maybe the fight ability, and the +1/+1 and trample's quite nice. Curse of Predation. I would enchant or I'd curse my biggest threat on the board so everyone gets the benefit while that person's still around. Again, nice easy way of getting +1/+1 counters on anything that's attacking him. Elephant Guide, just so we can get the 3/3 when we die. I figured, again, good plan with this one. Fight Rigging's a nice one as well. It always puts a +1/+1 counter around, even when the hideaway's gone. Grafted Growth, bit of mana ramp, bit of grafting, +1/+1 on a creature. Fantastic, thank you very much. I've chucked in Growing Rights as well, because I do want to try and flip it if we can. I mean, we're only playing 20 creatures in the deck, so we do need to dig, and this does help us dig a bit. So, hence why it's here. Kodama of the West Tree is probably one of the best creatures you can have in this deck, because once it's modified, once you modify a creature, they get trample, and you get to do the whole land search with your modified creature when they deal combat damage to a player. So it really does help you ramp out and thin your deck out that bit quicker. To help with the killing of our opponents, we've got Managorger Hydra, because you can get this down quite happily on turn 2 and then watch it grow to about 4/4 by your turn with a bit of luck, assuming it doesn't get killed. New Horizons does the whole +1/+1 counter thing and gives us some more mana ramp. Jade Light Rager, the exploring bit of it can either be a nice big creature or it can be a nice little way of doing ramp and having a body to do it, hence why it's here. Titania I've already mentioned, and Champion's Helm's in here. Another way of giving Kosei hexproof and giving it quite a big pump with the +2/+2, which I was really excited about when I thought about it. Flavoured Jukai, get to do the whole +3/+3 in reach on an enchantment or as long as the enchantment permanent creature, it gets +3/+3 and has reach. Why do you want to put it on an artifact? I'm not 100% sure, but I figured the +3/+3 and the ability to channel it to just for one turn could be useful. Fruit of the First Tree, let the creature die, get all those nice little card draws and life gain. Mantle of the Wolf, when that creature dies, you get to have the 2 wolves come back up to back it up. And one with a Kami as well, when it dies, you get all those spirit creature tokens. So, we've got enough ways of flooding the board if we need to. Pattern of Rebirth is something I love. This is probably one of the, most people's top green enchantment. I've got it here for one simple reason, because we're going to try and get this on a creature early, and as soon as that creature dies, we are going to go and get something, well, I'll get to in a second. Rampant Rejuvenator, because it's modified to start with, if we've got Kodama of the West Tree in play, it means it's got trample anyway, and when it deals damage, it gets to go and get you a land, and then when it dies, you get to go and get 2 extra lands. But if you can put some more +1/+1s on it, you'll be surprised how quickly you can flood the board with your forests. Bear Umbra gives a nice little bit of totem armor if we need to. And then Helm of the Host. Who would not want more Koseis in play? Who would not want more of anything in this deck in play? Hence why it's here. Predatory Impulse, again, is a nice... It's good for us because it means we can give something +3/+3, but if there's a real big threat on the other side of the board, it kind of eliminates it because you can enchant an opponent's creature with it, and then they have to attack something that isn't you, hence why it's here, until, you know, it becomes you versus them, in which case there's no option but to attack you. Soul's Might, to chuck around some really nice number of +1/+1 creatures equal to that creature's power. Yep, like that plan. Defiler Revigour. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, we got a lot of green permanent spells. This means this is going to be chucking around a lot of +1/+1 counters, and I'm quite happy to pay 2 life for any of these enchantments and creatures over here to come into play and do it that way as well. So don't forget about the Defilers. Anyway, Green Sleeves Marrow Sorcerer. I just wanted something that was a bit of fun, and it's also, you know, get it in play, drop a land, get a bear, get a badger of all things. You know, I haven't seen a badger token yet. I'm looking forward to seeing one on MTGO. Incremental Growth, chuck some +1/+1 counters around. Cura, the Boundless Sky. 2 options, and it's a split between what you want to do with it. If you're in a position where you're behind, when this dies, you're going to go and get the lands. If you're in a position where you're kind of ahead or on par with everyone else, getting that big spirit token that gets X, where is the number of lands you control, because it keep going up, and it's a nice threat. You know, we've got 35 lands in the deck because of the ramp. You know, 9 times this will give you a 5/5 6/6 creature when it dies. Verdurous Gearhog's also in the deck. It's a green permanent, so it does work with Defiler, and it also chucks around +1/+1 counters, so you can +1/+1 up everything. Primeval Bounty, bit of life gain, a bit of creature creation, and some +1/+1 counters. You know, got this in play. You drop something like Alpha Authority. Hey, you get to put some +1/+1s around as well. Yeah, it all comes together. Garrick's in just to go and dig out some creatures. And then we've got a few more win conditions at the end here. So we've got Hydra Broodmaster, which I do like. And, you know, between having Growing Rights of Immunotech, Nykthos, and Gaia's Cradle in here, you should be able to get quite a good bit of XX out of this at some stage. Prodigious Growth is just, you know, +7/+7 and trample. Yep, fine by me. Titania's Command's also in here. This is here basically to create the 2 bears and then chuck +2/+1/+1 counters on every creature we control. It's a very good sorcery. The other 2 things you can just basically forget about 90% of the time, unless you are playing someone who's abusing their graveyard, in which case the first one's really useful. But do you need to get the lands? Maybe, if you really want to get your Gaia's Cradle out, you really need to get your Nykthos. Maybe you want to get Agaroth's Sanctum of Nature out so you can do the whole Titania pairing thing. But, yeah, most of the time it's going to be Mode 3 and Mode 4 you're going to be going for with this deck. Jugan, the Rising Star, I figured I might as well have in as well. Just a, you know, bit of a nod to the original Kamigawa. And the +1/+1 counters help when it dies. Shape of Windigo is another enchantment, which is quite nice. It gets to put all those +1/+1 counters on an enchanted creature. And at the beginning of your upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on an enchanted creature if it attacks or blocks it your last turn. Otherwise, remove a counter from it. 9 times out of 10, this will mean you'll have +5/+5/+5 count, +1/+1 counters, sorry, on the creature the next turn it gets around to you. But occasionally you do block with it, and it stays, you know, it stays at 6 +1/+1 counters, so we're not going to complain. The card I am going to be going and getting with Pattern and Rebirth is going to be Vigor. It's a very good old school green card from back in the day. And, you know, just eliminating all the damage that would be dealt to another creature you're controlling, putting all those +1/+1 counters on it silly. Plus the fact when they do kill it, it does go shuffled back into your library. And, you know, the only way they can really deal with it eventually is exiling it. Not many people exile things nowadays when you're playing a mono green deck. Avenger of Zendikar is the last, you know, second to last creature in the deck. Yeah, I figured this was just, you know, mono green, you're playing a big green ramp deck, you need something big. Avenger of Zendikar kind of hits that button for me, especially with all the plant tokens it brings along with it, and especially if you can drop a land straight after you've played it. And the final one, I think I've said it a few times now, if I'm playing a green deck like this, I am playing Apex Devastator going forward. I just love it. Sorry, I can't tell you how much I care for this card. It's just fantastic in my mind, and it's going to be in all my decks where I need green. And yeah, we are ramping high enough that getting to 10 mana shouldn't be too much of an issue, I'm hoping. And if the worst comes to the worst, well, you know, hopefully the Cascade triggers will go off even if they counter it and they don't stifle it. So, you know. Anyway, that's my take on the deck of Tondels. So that's my take on Kosei, Penitent Warlord. I hope you've enjoyed the little video today. Let me know in the comments down below if you think I've missed anything out majorly. I'm hoping that Tondel will let me know where his deck is posted at some stage, and I'll try and post a link to his if he sees this video, which I'm hoping it does. And you know, you can then compare my deck list with his deck list, because my deck list is down below. Hope you've read it, and I really do hope you've hit the subscribe button. I've got a few more followers the last couple of weeks, so I'm getting there. 115, 885 to go, and I'll be a happy person. Well, happier than I am. Yeah, I'm happy with 115 to be fair, but you know, get up to that magic number would be really good as well for me. But that's it for today. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, tell me what you think in the comments, and I'll respond as soon as I see them. Take care. Thanks for watching the video. I'll see you soon. Bye.